Well, hello everyone. Once more, welcome to today's webinar for the healthiest diet on the planet, or our ebook club. I'm Gustavo Tolosa, your host and webinar producer, and we're going to have a great session today. First of all, I wanted to remind you that tomorrow is the broadcast of the first episode of the Pianist and the Chef, and I hope you have signed up. It's going to be a lot of fun. I promise you, because I am having a lot of fun. And so the Pianist and the Chef is this new series that will be aired once a month, and every time there are going to be several surprises in each session, and I think that you will love it. It's priced at a very low price range, so that by just helping me out once a month, I can continue to make a lot of free content. And I'm going to be announcing some awesome free content coming up next week. I want to remind you to please, if you haven't, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the bell. That helps me to continue grow the channel, and it helps me to continue making this free content. And if you have Facebook, go ahead and like my page, which is called Dr. Starch. I also have Instagram, which is under Plantemus, Plant, like plant, and then EMUS. So today I want to, and by the way, I'm just looking here because I have notes, otherwise I forget. I'm sure I'm going to forget something. So someone asked me in a video in YouTube this week about seitan and if I consume it. And so I wanted to say a few words about that. And just reminding you, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, I just mean it as a reminder that what I do in my YouTube channel and with all of you here in this book club is talk about a whole food, plant-based diet. So let's keep reminding each other of that. I say each other because sometimes in this crazy world, even I sometimes have to remind myself, this is a whole food, plant-based way of eating. So what that means is whole food. We try to eat food as a whole that has with minimal or no process. I have here an apple. So this is a whole food. But if I go to applesauce, even though it's healthy, and if I don't add sugar, it's fine. But it's higher in calorie because I can eat this apple and I can be satisfied. But this apple made into applesauce is a lot less. So I can easily eat 3 apples when they were made sauce. If I dry them, oh my goodness, I could eat probably up to 10 apples because all the water has been taken out, and so I don't have satiety. So whole food is important because we try to eat as whole as possible. It's better to eat the olive. That's what I wanted to say, rather than the olive oil. So it's getting back to the source, eating the food in the package it came in, which contains all these elements that interact and they activate themselves, and they're health promoting. So when we eat food as a whole, in the whole form, it has water, it has fiber, it has all of the vitamins and minerals and micronutrients, etc., and everything, because everything has been designed so perfectly, is in the right amounts. So whole food, and then plant-based, because we want it to come from the plant world as opposed that from the animal world. So having said that, there are things like seitan or tofu that those are foods that have had a higher processing, higher processing. So you end up with food that is very caloric. So I could eat a little piece of tofu, or I could eat a whole tray. It's too heavy here, but I could show you my tray of fruits here. I could probably eat the whole tray and have the same amounts of calories. So it's just always a matter of what I said at the beginning of our series. Where are we at? If you are 100 pounds overweight, like I was at one point, and I have given up the meat and the dairy and a lot of the processed foods, if I still consume some of these higher caloric foods, I will still lose weight if my goal is to lose weight. But when I've lost 70 pounds, then it gets a little harder to lose weight. I have to start giving up other higher caloric foods, either forever or for a while. So it just depends where we're at. So someone that is at their perfect ideal weight, doesn't have any problems with food addiction, eating from time to time some tofu or seitan is probably not going to hurt. But I want to go back to what Dr. McDougall says, because we always want to go back to the expert. And in our previous series, where we had the Start Solution book, on chapter 3, he talks about these fake meats, which sometimes could be, there are many of them, but one of them could be the seitan. So just being careful. I just want to mention briefly that seitan basically is a paste that comes from wheat protein. The word protein always has a red light to me. It's always a little concerning. It kind of scares me, because protein, as Dr. McDougall explains to us in his book, can be very damaging to our internal organs, who have a very hard time getting rid of protein, as opposed to complex carbohydrates that are burned as heat through the skin and activity in a daily basis. So seitan is a paste that comes from the wheat protein, and it is a protein food. It's loaded with protein, and it's actually low in carbohydrates. So we are talking about here a starch-based way of eating, which is also a high carb way of eating. And so this one is the opposite. It has low carbs and low fat, but it has high protein. And about 100 grams, if you can do some research, about 100 grams of seitan provides us with about 24 grams of protein. So why should we be concerned with that? Well, in chapter 3, I think it's page 57 in the Start Solution by Dr. John McDougall, he talks to us about how it says here, I'm reading it, when we keep eating protein after we have met our daily requirements, the body seems to it wants to eliminate the excess. The primary route is through the liver and kidneys. Some people may notice the strong smell of urea in their sweat and urine, one indicator of protein overload. And then he goes on to talk about how it's really hard on the kidneys and on the liver, and it can eventually lead to organ failure. So, and And in his book, hold on here, The Start Solution, I'm just looking, just as a quick reference here, about, he says, Dr. McDougall cites a few, it gives us a range of what is a good amount of protein a day. We can function totally fine with 25, 30 grams of proteins a day, up to 60. The American the diet sometimes doubles and over that. So when you have a food like seitan that is providing already 24 grams of protein in 100 grams, that's very little. And you still have the whole day to go. You're entering the zone of protein overload. And we really need to watch out that. Now, we're not going to go back to that. If you might want to go back to, in my YouTube channel, I have all the sessions of the Start Solution. You might want to go back to the one that says chapter 3 and watch that. Okay, so that's why I don't eat seitan. I just think that I have too much variety. I personally eat just about every grain and every bean and every tuber and every vegetable and fruit that there is. So I have this huge variety, and I don't feel the need for seitan or tofu, although tofu, I may eat it maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. I just don't, like I said, I have too much variety. I don't seek it, but nothing wrong, especially with tofu. It's a totally healthy food. It's just for me personally, I try to limit it. Okay, so this chapter that we're seeing today in our book of the month is chapter 3, and it really is the last chapter. And then I have a really fun idea that I'm going to announce at the end of what to do after this. This chapter 3 to me is one of the most important chapters, because chapter 1 and 2 are more or less touched on in the Start Solution, but chapter 3 is really pretty much a new chapter that we don't find in the Start Solution. And it talks about the fad diets, all those diets. I'm pretty sure that all of you, like me, or most of you, have tried just about in the past every diet that appeared. Maybe you could type right here so that we can see. If you have tried every diet or almost every possible diet on the planet in the past, and it didn't work because they are constricting the amount of food and the amount of calories, please type yes. Please type yes, I have tried. I have to say that I did try just about every fad diet that there was. So this chapter is going to be dealing with at least 3 of these fad diets that are very popular today. And that's why I think it's so important. I see that a lot of you have tried them all, or almost all. Thank you for typing that. And it's very important that we understand this, not to fight other people and confront, although if you like doing that, go ahead. But people will talk to you about, the wheat belly diet or the grain brain diet, or they will, the famous paleo diet. They will mention that and talk about it. And even if you don't want to enter into an argument, it's good that you know what they're saying. So this is what this chapter is about. On page 50, Dr. McDougall talks one more time about the difference in generations when he was being a doctor, and how he saw this marked difference between the first generation of these Asians that were eating food that was the traditional diet of their ancestors based on plant foods mostly, and they were perfectly healthy until the end of their life and lived long lives. And the second generation was sicker, and the third generation was sicker. And the only change that he saw during all these years of treating patients was the type of food they were consuming. So he says on page 51, let's settle this once and for all. Let's compare the healthiest diet on the planet to 3 of today's most popular and touted diets, all of which feature meat as their centerpiece. So he talks about Dr. Atkins, the man behind the famous Atkins Diet, and his first book came out in 1972, and he was very upfront to people, saying you've got to eat more animal products without limit, no limits as to how much you can eat. But the Atkins diet, which so many people have since rightly dismissed, still lives on, though it has since taken different forms. So the Atkins diet, it kind of has disappeared because there was so much research that showed the negative impact in the human body. But it's still here. It has transformed. It has changed names. There are doctors that have taken it, tweaked it a little bit, changed the names, and sold millions and millions of books. So it still lives on, Dr. McDougall says, though it has since taken different forms. Dr. Atkins was direct in his dietary advice, but Dr. William Davis, author of Wheat Belly, Lose the Weight, Lose the Wheat, Lose the Weight, and Find Your Path Back to Health, and Dr. David Perlmutter, author of Grain Brain, The Surprising Truth About Wheat, Carbs, and Sugar, Your Brain's Silent Killers, take a backdoor approach to the Atkins high-fat, low-carbohydrate way of eating. And as the titles suggest in these books, supposedly wheat causes a big belly, while grains damage the brain. Now, I don't know. Okay, let's do an experiment here. And okay, hold on. Let's try this. I'm going to go to Google, and I will share my window with you. Just be patient with me as I get this done. Okay, so there's my window in Google, and I'm going to type the name of Dr. William Davis. Okay, and I'm going to go to images here. You can just look and see that there's actually a belly and kind of a prominent, and a person that and we're not making fun of people that are overweight, but it's not a slim doctor. It just, when you're promoting a diet, I think that it is important that if you're saying that, let me go back here, that wheat produces a belly, that it might be a good idea that you don't have a belly. And if you look at some of these doctors, well, okay, let's go back here, and this time I will put, okay, let's put here Dr. Robert Atkins. Okay. There are quite a lot of disturbing pictures here. And well, disturbing, I don't know. I'm just, Dr. McDougall, in one of the webinars that I did with him, and you can go to my YouTube channel and look for that webinar, talks about how Dr. Atkins died. So the diet that he promoted was not, I'm just trying to be very kind, but it just was artery clogging. And there is a very interesting story. I'm not going to tell it, but it is in the webinar. I'm going to try to find the one or two webinars that I did with Dr. McDougall talking about the Atkins diet and Dr. Atkins, and send it to you so that you can watch it. Okay, so if you believe Dr. Davis and Dr. Perlmutter, this is page 53 of the book, then what is left to eat in order to meet your energy requirements? That's right, animal-derived foods and vegetable oils, the primary components of the original Atkins diet. So Dr. McDougall is making the point that this is the diet Atkins recycled, basically. A few fruits and non-starchy vegetables are commonly added to these new low carbohydrate diets in an effort to partially compensate for obvious nutritional deficiencies found in the original Atkins diet, which lacks dietary fiber, vitamin C, essential carbohydrates, and thousands of other phytochemicals. Starches, beans, corn, potatoes, and rice are the primary source of carbohydrates. Thus, low carbohydrate is in practical terms synonymous with meat, poultry, cheese, butter, fish, eggs, and vegetable oils. In order for the authors of these books to pull off the monumental task of luring otherwise intelligent people back into inherently dangerous diet plans, they have had to, number one, ignore the bulk of the science, and number two, exaggerate the truth, and number three, make false associations. So, on page 55, Dr. McDougall talks about ignoring the science. Although low carbohydrate diets can cause weight loss should not be the primary goal of individuals, medical doctors, dietitians, insurance companies, or governments. What is supposed to be the primary goal is to live long and to stay healthy. Major scientific reviews show that low carbohydrate diets increase the risk of sickness and death. And you have a very, very good box on page 52 that gives you study after study after study from very renowned journals that confirm what Dr. McDougall is saying. And if there is something that Dr. McDougall does, is he does not just talk, he talks and he gives you as many references as you want and need. So now, note that there are no similar scientific reviews condemning high carbohydrate diets such as the healthiest diet on the planet. Most important, once these unhealthy foods are avoided, the body heals. Yes. On page 57, exaggerating the truth about inflammation. So, inflammation is a word that we should always have in the back of our minds, because inflammation is not a good word when it comes to health. It's Dr. McDougall explains it better, so we'll read it. Promoters of low carbohydrate diets claim dietary carbohydrates are packed with inflammatory ingredients, and that inflammation is at the heart of virtually every disorder and disease. The evidence linking carbohydrates to inflammation is convoluted, theoretical, and largely limited to celiac disease, an uncommon condition that prevents the small intestine effectively absorbing necessary nutrients, leading to diarrhea, abdominal pain, flatulence, weakness, and weight loss. So, when it comes to dietary caused inflammation, scientific research solidly and consistently blames meat, poultry, dairy, and eggs as the source of repeated injury and the resulting chronic inflammation. And you have to pay attention to these boxes on page 54 and 55, because there you're going to have much research listed. Again, it's not just words, you have the actual proof. The diseases that follow include, so these are the diseases that inflammation causes through the consumption of meat, poultry, dairy, and eggs. These are the diseases: coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, and inflammatory arthritis. Fortunately, once the source of injury is stopped, the inflammation resolves and healing occurs. The research does not support the theory that carbohydrates from wheat, other grains, or starchy vegetables lead to chronic inflammation. See boxes on pages 56 and 57, and he says there is no debate here. There's absolutely no debate. So, what are the false associations that are based on celiac disease? Well, on page 58 of the book, at the very bottom, it says, low-carb diet proponents often use celiac disease to demonize all carbohydrates for all people. The main takeaway that readers will get from Wheat Belly is that wheat is the major cause of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and almost all other major and minor health problems. Although wheat can be very troublesome for a small percentage of the population, and let's make sure we understand that it's a small percentage, celiac disease affects fewer than 1 in 100 people following the Western diet. These people must avoid gluten, which is found in high concentration in wheat, barley, and rye. However, to put this real concern into global historical perspective, consider the importance of these 3 grains. They have served to fuel the development of civilization through human history and still serve as a major source of calories, protein, vitamins, and minerals for billions of people. People without celiac disease or the very few other conditions that warrant elimination of these 3 specific grains will find them an excellent and tasty source of nutrition. Patients with celiac disease are usually suffering from malnourishment because of the problems created by damage to their intestines from gluten. Following the removal of wheat, barley, and rye, the gastrointestinal tract usually heals, and only then are calories and other nutrients efficiently assimilated so that weight can be gained. Some people with documented celiac disease, however, are overweight and even obese before starting a gluten-free diet. You might expect that the dietary restrictions imposed by a strict gluten-free weight gain is a common occurrence in overweight and obese adults and children with celiac disease who go on gluten-free diets. So, on page 60 at the very top, Dr. McDougall says, let's reiterate this point. In 2011, there was an article in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association that states, quote, at this time, there is no scientific evidence supporting that the alleged benefit that a gluten-free diet will promote weight loss. The primary reason for unwanted weight gain found in people buying gluten-free products is that these imitations often contain as much or more calories, more fat, more sugar, and fewer important nutrients such as dietary fiber and complex carbohydrates and vitamins and minerals than the original gluten-containing foods. And he says, look at page 60, look at page 61. Look at page 61 right there. Very high percentage of calories from fat in popular gluten-free foods. So he says, although I applaud Dr. Davis for bringing problems with wheat to greater public awareness for the very few who would benefit, I consider this fad a serious diversion away from what I believe to be the real solution to obesity and common diseases, a starch-based diet. So Dr. Davis makes clear his alliance with the low-carb movement made popular by Dr. Atkins. Dr. Davis recommends people eat unlimited amounts of eggs, full-fat cheese, other dairy products, meat, fish, chicken, and vegetable oil, olive oils. My opposite conclusion is that these same rich foods, once served for the tables of opulent kings and queens, are actually the cause of the current epidemics of obesity and common illnesses in the developing world. So there is this fad that says go gluten-free, however, can indirectly harm many celiac patients, it says, Dr. McDougall says. If you are one of the few people with celiac disease, then avoiding gluten is crucial to your health. You cannot cheat. It's a lifelong commitment to not ingest it. But with the popularity of going gluten-free for unsubstantiated reasons, the importance of this dietary restriction for the truly needed has been diminished. And he gives an example in a restaurant. So what are some of the acceptable foods for those who have celiac disease? Well, they're right here on page 62. The grains that you can eat are amaranth, buckwheat, corn, millet, oats, if they're certified to be gluten-free, quinoa, rice, sorghum, wild rice, and a few others. Other foods that you could eat if you have celiac disease, all of the root vegetables like potatoes, yam, sweet potatoes, and cassava root, which I haven't had, which is tapioca. All legumes, more specifically beans, including soybeans and chickpeas, peas and lentils, all green and yellow vegetables, and all fruit. So Dr. McDougall says on page 63, if you suspect that you have celiac disease, then get tested by your physician. Avoidance of foods with gluten is a lifelong restriction. If you're unsure about your diagnosis, but still suspect a gluten sensitivity, then go on a starch-based diet with no wheat, no barley, no rye. And for example, you can base your diet on corn and rice and sweet potatoes and beans and adding some fruits and greens and yellow vegetables. The connection between gluten and celiac disease is so close that the diagnosis can often be made when the patient experiences dramatic improvement of symptoms upon following a gluten-free diet. And it says, look at the box on page 62, and which I just showed you. Confirmation of your diagnosis can be made by carefully adding back any suspected foods. If you, like 2/3 of adults in the United States, are sick and overweight, and if you, like the vast majority, do not have celiac disease, a wheat allergy, or a wheat sensitivity, then I strongly recommend that you include wheat, barley, and rye in your diet, because these good starches are known to cause desirable weight loss and confer medical benefits. So on page 63, he talks about the false associations between diabetes and carbohydrates, which we already saw this in the starch solution. But the main takeaway that you would have if you read the book Grain Brain is that grains and other starchy foods are the cause of type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, obesity, and most of the other chronic health problems suffered in the Western world. The truth is that people with type 2 diabetes are ill with many disorders of the body and brain, but grains and other starchy vegetables do not cause type 2 diabetes. The Western diet, loaded with meat, fat, and empty calories, makes people overweight and then causes them to go on and develop type 2 diabetes. The same diet, independently, causes heart disease, common cancers, and brain disorders, including strokes and Alzheimer's disease. Rice and other starches actually prevent and often cure common chronic diseases suffered by Americans and others worldwide. Type 2 diabetes is cured by a starch-based high carbohydrate diet. To take this point to the extreme, here we have Dr. Kempner's rice diet, which consists of white rice, fruit juice, and table sugar. More than 90% of the calories are from carbohydrates, and it has been shown to cause profound weight loss in the severely obese, cure type 2 diabetes, and reverse heart disease. High carbohydrate diets are inherently low in fat. Dietary fat, freely recommended in the Wheat Belly and Grain Brains programs, actually increases blood sugar levels and causes people with type 1 diabetes to require more insulin. So you can see the damage that is going on here with this manipulation of information, looking beyond the smoke and mirrors. And Dr. McDougall says on page 64 at the very bottom, the truth is that the rich Western diet makes people fat and sick. On page 65, this is very important. People are desperate for a solution to their weight and health problems, and many of them are easily deceived. People love, I have heard this so much, people love to hear good news about their bad habits. They love to be told that prime rib and cheddar cheese are good for them. But the bottom line is that the rising popularity of low carbohydrate diets and books like Wheat Belly and Grain Brain enhance the profits of the meat, poultry, dairy, fish, egg, and vegetable oil industries. Secondarily, hospitals, healthcare professionals, and pharmaceutical and device companies rake in great benefits from all this illness caused by eating animal-derived foods and vegetable oils. To regain our lost health and save planet Earth, the smoke and mirrors behind popular diet books must be exposed. Next week, we will talk about the paleo diet because that is a very important topic and I don't want to just rush through it. Spend time this week thinking about what we just read. Go back in case, sometimes some of these pages right here are dense. Sometimes we need to read them 2 or 3 times. Read pages 51 through 65 again. Really process that information. Even go and read some of the research that Dr. McDougall presents. You might even want to print some of these and take them to your doctor. Not that it'll matter. Usually it doesn't make any difference, but it might. You never know. Some doctors are more open-minded than others. So take these articles that Dr. McDougall is presenting to you are not articles written by somebody, an unknown person in some kind of a self-printed book or something. They are printed in prestigious medical journals. So next week we're gonna read that and make sure you really spend time reading about the following pages up to the end of chapter 3, which mostly focuses on the Atkins diet, and then we will finish. So before I leave you today, and I will leave you with some music. Today I will play a little bit of live music there at my piano. Before I do that, I want to remind you of a few things, and I want to announce a few things. Remember to subscribe to my social media and my email list. I also have a website for both of my passions, which are music and healthy eating. They will be listed in the descriptions later on because this video is uploaded to YouTube, and so everything will be there. I want to announce that this coming Tuesday, which is August 25th, I will do a free YouTube live, and where I will show you how to cook some really awesome stuffed and roasted apples. This can be dessert, they can be breakfast, they could be a snack, and they are truly, truly delicious. That is going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So maybe put it in your calendar. And if you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, then you'll get a notice. And if not, remember my YouTube channel is under my name, Gustavo Tolosa. That's Tuesday night. Wednesday, the following day, I will have a surprise interview with a person that I think you will get a lot from this person. You will learn so much. It's someone with practical experience, someone who has gone through what we have all gone through and who at times has fell off the wagon, but has a tremendous success story. That's on Wednesday, and you do have to sign up for that webinar. It's free though. Remember, my goal is to make most of the content I make free. That's free, and the registration page will be emailed to you. If you're here, you're in my email list, so it will be emailed to you either tonight or tomorrow for you to register. And once it is broadcast live, then it is uploaded to YouTube, my channel, where you can watch it at any time. So if on Wednesday you cannot watch it, don't worry. You'll get a replay email, or you can later on the next day go to my YouTube channel and watch it. So if you're ready for tomorrow, oh, I have to show you. How do you like that? Now, I do look kind of silly with it, but tomorrow is the chef and the pianist. So if you haven't signed up, you can do so at my website, plantemus.com. It's Plantemus, plantemus.com. Click on the button that says the pianist and the chef, and you can sign up. And I will make gnocchi, which is a type of pasta that is delicious. And I will show you, it's a potato-based pasta, so it couldn't be any more perfect. And I will show you two ways of making it. The traditional way, which has some flour in it, and then the Gustavo way, which is 100% potato with a heavenly tomato sauce that makes the difference. And also, these pears that I came up with, the roasted and stuffed and roasted pears, I call them now the magic pears because they disappear like that. 5 minutes they're gone. And I will explain the tradition of eating gnocchi on the 29th of each month, which is fun. In a lot of countries in South America, the 29th is when everybody's eating gnocchis, but in a very specific way, and I'm going to show you that tomorrow. And what I wanted to announce is that when we're done with this, which is going to be in 1 or 2 more sessions, what I thought would be fun is for another 3 sessions, maybe 4 at the most, we could cook together. Every week I will choose some recipes from the book, or you can send me the recipes that you want me to cook. And since you will have the list of ingredients here, I can announce which ones we're going to cook, maybe 2, because sometimes there's a time limit. But I will bring you to my kitchen and we will cook together and then eat it together. So you can either watch it or you can have the ingredients ahead of time and we can all have fun and cook. And that will bring to a close this book club and make it practical. And then after that, we're going to choose another book which I have in mind. I think you're going to love it. But if you have any suggestions, you can also email me and tell me what book you would like to read together. So, well, I'm going to move over there where I have my piano and I will play something for you. So just hold on for like a minute and I'm going to turn off the camera so that I don't make you, dizzy moving the camera. I shall leave you today with a piece of music written by the French composer Eric Satie. He wrote 3 lovely pieces called Gymnopédie number 1, Gymnopédie number 2, and Gymnopédie number 3. I believe I have already played a number 1 in another webinar, so today I will play number 2. These are very difficult times we're all living in. There is a lot of darkness, a lot of negativity, and just chaos, it seems, at every corner we look at. But we must remember that the world in general, the beauty outside in nature, in the universe, is good, and there's more good than bad, and that we have control over our emotions and our feelings, our thoughts, and I want to encourage you to listen to this music and let it go through you and feel the peacefulness and feel the quietness, and maybe even close your eyes and feel the meditation, and hopefully it will help you. It will bring you a little bit of light in these days that sometimes are difficult for us to live through. So I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you in our next session of the healthiest diet on the planet next week. Here is Eric Satie in Gymnoped number 2.